Hello, everyone, and thank you once again for joining us here on the Dorks Talk Sports podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Jeremy, and joining me is once again Jay Smooth.
Holler at your boys. How's it going, Jeremy?
It's going real well. How are you, Jay Smooth?
I'm doing excellent, my friend.
All right. Well, in this episode, we get to talk about the competitive AFC West. Any thoughts on the AFC West so far there, Jay Smooth?
I think it's going to be more competitive than people think.
I think it might as well. But before we get to that, remember, you can check us out on SoundCloud, YouTube, and Google Podcasts.
As usual, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
All right, let's get this show started by looking at the team that won the division last year, the Kansas City Chiefs. What's a move or two that you've enjoyed so far from them, Jay Smooth?
I really like them bringing in the Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu, to sort of replace Eric Berry.
Yeah, I like that move.
Also, the draft pickup of Juwan Thornhill, also a safety, to maybe complement the Honey Badger's abilities back there.
Yep, I like that pick as well. Yeah, I like them bringing in Frank Clark, edge rusher, as well as linebacker Darren Lee, I believe. Feels like they had a lot of turnover there on defense. They lost Justin Houston, D. Ford, Eric Berry, a couple other cornerbacks and safeties. Lost Kareem Hunt as well. But I feel like for the most part they were able to replace those lost pieces pretty well, and they still have the major players there on offense with Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill. We'll see what issues he has to deal with, but as long as they have their main guys there and they can keep Pat Mahomes healthy, I feel like they're going to have another outstanding season similar to the one they had last year. They're definitely looking to get over the hump, which is something Andy Reid has been looking for a while now, but I think they may have the team that can actually do it this year. They got real close last year. That D. Ford offsides call kept them out of the Super Bowl, so I think they're going to make another run at it this year. How do you see their season playing out?
I agree with you for the most part. I think their offense is going to be just fine. Their defense did lose a couple studs. They did replace them a little bit, but I think their defense is going to drop off a little bit, but I do see them being in contention and making a long run this year as well.
Yeah, and I do like the draft pick of Mecole Hardman. I think he's going to be a good stud young receiver for them, especially playing with a guy like Mahomes back there at quarterback. So yeah, I definitely think they have all the pieces in place. They won 12 games last year. I think they're going to get to that total again this year. How many games do you think they're going to take in this year, Jay Smith?
I have them winning 11.
I definitely don't see a reason why they wouldn't win double digits again this season, barring any injury to any of the main players there on the offense, especially Mahomes. I feel like they're going to give us another run here. Let's move on then to the team that finished second last year and won a wild card game, the Los Angeles Chargers. They won 12 games last season, won a playoff game in Baltimore. They didn't really do much this offseason by the looks of it. What's a move that you think is going to help them out this season?
They did not. They might have been the most quiet team this offseason. They drafted some defensive help there. Defensive tackle Jerry Tillery and safety Najee Adderley. And they also brought in linebacker Thomas Davis, who should help out that formidable defensive line they have there.
Those are pretty much the only moves they really made this offseason. They kind of strengthened the defense a little bit. I really like the draft pick of Tillery. He's a huge dude. I think he's like 6'7".
He's a big man.
Big guy. And Thomas Davis is a veteran presence there on the linebacker core because they have a lot of young, talented linebackers there. Guys like Joey Bosa too. None of them really stood out as a kind of a defensive stud, so I like them bringing in that veteran presence. And then the safety Adderley. I think he's going to add a little more depth there in the defensive backfield, which is always good. They did lose Tyrell Williams, but they had a couple young receivers there ready to step up, most notably Mike Williams. So, yeah, they didn't do much, and I think that's going to hurt them this season. Like I said, they won 12 games last year. I see them falling down to 10 wins this season and having to fight for another wild card spot. How many wins do you see them getting this year?
I actually see them getting 12 again and winning the division this year. I think, like you said, they didn't really do a whole lot in the offseason, but I don't think they needed to. I think they are one of the most well-balanced teams in the entire league.
Yeah, they were like top 5 in offense and defense last year, I believe, at least top 10 in both. They got good coaching there. Phillip Rivers is making a case to be a Hall of Fame quarterback. They got a lot of offensive weapons as well, and a lot of guys on defense that can make plays. So, yeah, I feel like they're right there, ready to make a splash, ready to make a run to the Super Bowl. I feel like they're a playoff team looking to take the next step as a Super Bowl contender. I just feel like the lack of offseason movement is going to keep them from actually getting over the hump, but time will tell. We'll see how they play out this season.
I agree with you. I think they could have done more in the offseason to maybe push themselves over the top, but I think they can still take the division. I agree with you. I think they kind of dropped the ball the offseason.
Yeah.
I still think they can take this division.
Yeah, and to their benefit, a lot of their tougher games this season are at home. Colts, Texans, Steelers, Packers, and Minnesota. So at least they get, more of their tougher games at home, which is always a benefit for a team. And then next up, we have the team that I think made some of the best waves here in the offseason, the Denver Broncos. What's a move that you like that they've done so far?
I actually like them bringing in Joe Flacco. I think he needed a change of scenery, and he kind of fits what they kind of need there in Denver. I think he can throw the ball almost the whole entire field in that thin air.
Probably.
But I really like the pickup of cornerback Bryce Callahan from the Chicago Bears. They already had a pretty solid secondary, but now I just think he's going to bring that defense back to maybe what they were a few years back.
Yeah, they definitely did lose some key pieces there on defense. Brandon Ruby, Brandon Marshall, Shaq Barrett. But yeah, getting Bryce Callahan, I like that move. It was a big move. I do like them bringing in Joe Flacco, especially since they drafted Drew Lock. I think Flacco's going to provide some very key veteran experience, knowledge there to Drew Lock. I like that move as well. But I think their biggest moves were bringing in Vic Fangio as head coach and then Mike Munchak as well to help out with the offense. Those are some really good coaches. So I like what they're doing with kind of cleaning house on the coaching staff, bringing in their guy for the future in Drew Lock. So I think, this is going to be another long season for them because I just think they're in a bit of a transition. They won 6 games last year. I think they could get back to that amount this year just because they still have talent there on offense and defense. But I definitely see them transitioning and moving forward. And I think they're going to be a lot more competitive in the next few years. This year, maybe not so much. How do you see them this season?
I see them getting 7, maybe 8 wins, possibly getting to 500. I think they had the best offseason in this division for sure, and one of the best in the league. I think they're going to be up and coming. I think they're maybe a few years away from getting back in contention, but I think they had a solid offseason. I like Drew Lock as well. I think he's a work in progress, but they kind of have a good situation here with Flacco, maybe taking the reins for the next couple years and giving way to Lock, hopefully, and we shall see that.
Yeah, probably be a bit of a frustrating season this year for Broncos fans, but I do like the direction they're heading. To go along with Locke, they also had a couple other really good draft picks on the offensive line with Dalton Reisner and then on the defensive line with Draymond Jones. So I think they really hit it out of the park with their draft and a lot of their coaching moves they made this offseason. So I think they're headed in the right direction. Just this season might not be right there yet for them. And then bringing up the bottom of the division, we have the Oakland Raiders. What do you like from them this offseason?
I like them snagging the aforementioned Brandon Marshall to anchor their defense. They brought in Vontaze Burfict and Antonio Brown, 2 questionable character guys, but highly talented, no doubt. So we shall see if they can mesh. And they also brought in a talented offensive lineman, Richie Incognito. Again, though, maybe some character issues. So it's going to be interesting to see how all these new additions play out.
Yeah, they didn't really lose much this offseason. A couple offensive linemen, veteran tight end Jared Cook. I did like some of the moves they made on defense. They drafted Clelin Ferrell, Max Crosby, a couple edge rushers to go along with signing Brandon Marshall and LaMarcus Joyner, the safety, and then drafting Josh Jacobs. I think he's going to be a really good running back. But yeah, bringing in some of the characters that they brought in Brown, Burfict, and Incognito, I don't understand really what's going on in there. We all know the issues Antonio Brown's having, demanding he has the right or his helmet before he'll play. We know the kind of issues Burfict brings on the field. He's a good player, but he has his issues, and then we all know the issues with Incognito. So I don't really see much. I just think there's too much off field, too many other issues that's going to keep them from being a competitive team this season. Last year they won 4 games. I think they may get back to that this season. That would be the high for me is 4 wins. How many wins did you have them having?
I actually have them going 2-14, maybe getting a 3. I think they have so much talent, but I don't think their defense is quite good enough to keep them in games, and I just don't. The offense definitely should be better this year. I like Josh Jacobs a lot, actually, and bringing in Tyrell the Gazelle Williams, I think that was a big move too, but I just don't think they have enough on this team to really do much, and this is just a tough division.
Yeah, I think that's going to be one of the biggest things as well. This is a division with the Chiefs and the Chargers, both really good teams, and then a Denver team that's competitive and looking to get better with each season here. For me, there's not really much to like in Oakland this season and really moving forward, so definitely be a long season for them there. All right, so looks like I have the Chiefs taking the division again, but you have the Chargers. Do you have the Chiefs making a wild card team here?
I do. I have the Chiefs coming in with the top wild card spot at 11-5, just behind the Chargers. I could see the Chiefs taking it, but I think the Chargers are going to get the job done.
Yeah, the only reason I'm down on the Chargers this year is just I don't think they did enough, but they they do have a really talented core group of guys that if they all just progress based off of what they did last season, I could see them winning the division. I like Kansas City and some of the moves they made more to retake that division this season.
Understandable. I just think the Chiefs' defense lost a lot of key players, and it's going to be hard to replace them all at one time.
Yeah, Justin Houston's a big loss for them. They signed Alex Okafor to go along with Frank Clark to try to replace his production. I don't know if they'll be able to match it. He is a really big loss for them.
I think D Ford as well. I think that offsides penalty may have swayed their decision not to bring him back just a little bit, but he was big last year for them as well.
Yeah, his last moments there probably left a sour taste in the mouth there in Kansas City, but he was a really good player for them, so he'll be a big loss as well. But I do like the moves they made to try to replace all the talent that they lost. All right, let's head on over to the player portion of our podcast here. Let's start with overrated player. Who's your overrated player in this division?
I have Damian Williams, running back of the Kansas City Chiefs. I think he is a beneficiary of just being in a wonderful position at the right time with one of the best quarterbacks in the league and stud tight end Travis Kelce and speedster Tyreek Hill. He has so much room and the attention's everywhere else, so he is made to shine, but I don't necessarily think it's a reflection of how good he is. He's just in a great position.
Yeah, he kind of burst onto the scene last year with them late in the season, but he didn't do much when he was in Miami. It's kind of why they cut him. So he came into a good offense. A lot of running backs are going to benefit from an Andy Reid controlled offense. So yeah, I think he's going to put up the numbers, but I don't think I can agree with you on that pick. I don't think he's as talented as a lot of people might be making him out to be.
No Kareem Hunt.
That is certainly true. He is no Kareem Hunt. My overrated player is one Derek Carr, quarterback for the Oakland Raiders. He kind of burst onto the scene a few years ago. He did go to the Pro Bowl a few seasons, but that doesn't really mean much in the NFL these days with how many guys turn down the Pro Bowl. But under John Gruden last year, he didn't have a good season at all. 19 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. They brought in some help here for him, Josh Jacobs, Antonio Brown. But since he's been drafted and since he's been in the league, he has the lowest yards per attempt in a clean pocket in the entire league. So
sneaky stat there.
It is a good one, I think. I think it's kind of reflective of the kind of quarterback he is because he's obviously had time, but he's just not a downfield thrower, which I think has been handicapping him the last few years because, if you can't throw the deep ball, then that takes away one major threat for any offense, and they haven't really had a good running game to go along with him lately. So, yeah, I think he's just not that good of a quarterback.
I can get on board with most of what you're saying. I think he's definitely underperformed the past few years. I think he had a good rookie year, but he definitely left something to be desired the last few years. You could say he didn't have a ton of talent, but he did have Amari Cooper and Crabtree at the same time. So I can't completely say that. But yeah, I'd say that's a good call there.
Yeah, I think Oakland's been looking for a quarterback for a long time now, and I think they thought they finally found one in Derek Carr, but he's definitely not progressed as they had hoped. At least in my opinion. Now we can take a look here at some underrated players. For me, my underrated player is inside linebacker Brandon Marshall. Spent the last few seasons with the Denver Broncos, is now headed towards Oakland. He's been a mainstay on that Denver defense for a long time, and I think he was overlooked simply because of all the other talent that is there in Denver as well. But yeah, he's kind of been one of the anchors for that defense for a long time, and I think we're going to see how good of a defensive player he is once he gets into Oakland. Unfortunately, I don't know if he's going to have much talent around him to help him out, but yeah, he's definitely, I think, underrated throughout the league. He's a really good linebacker. Who's your underrated player there, Jay Smooth?
I have cornerback Casey Hayward Jr. from the Los Angeles Chargers. They, like I mentioned before, they have a well-rounded defense. They don't really see many weaknesses there, but I think he has the ability to shut down most receivers in this league one-on-one, and the rest of the guys on that defense benefit from that.
Yeah, he's a really good cornerback, and he's kind of been part of a no-name defense there in L.A. Overall, they're really good, and that's a really good pick. He definitely has a chance to be a true shutdown cornerback in this league, so definitely like that pick. Now let's take a look at some breakout players. Which player do you think should break out this season?
I have Tyrell the Gazelle Williams, wide receiver of the Oakland Raiders.
Good pick.
Most people are excited about the addition of Antonio Brown, but I think he is a sneaky good addition, and sharing the field with Antonio Brown, he is going to see a ton of single coverage, and he could maybe have a year like Juju Smith-Schuster had last year. I don't know if he's quite that good, but I think he definitely in the conversation.
Certainly playing alongside Antonio Brown and with a running back like Josh Jacobs, or at least who they hope Josh Jacobs will be, it's definitely going to open up some space for Tyrell Williams. He had a good tenure while with the Chargers, never really got to the potential I think they were hoping he'd come to. But yeah, I think that's definitely a good pick. I could see him definitely breaking out this season. For me, my breakout player is Mike Williams, wide receiver for the Los Angeles Chargers. I think he's one of the reasons they let Tyrell Williams go. He was a high draft pick a few years ago, kind of broke out late season last year for the Chargers, and I think they're really hoping for big things out of him to complement Keenan Allen in the passing game to go along with the running backs they have there, that Austin Eckler and then Melvin Gordon if he does come back to the Chargers. But yeah, I think Mike Williams is poised and ready for a huge season there in LA. Quarterback like Phillip Rivers throwing you the ball, I think the chances go up even more. So I'm expecting big things out of Mike Williams this season there for the Chargers.
I think that's a great call. I think he definitely has the potential to have a breakout year. Loss of Antonio Gates and Tyrell Williams, I think there's tons of more targets there that Keenan Allen cannot take all of them. So I think Mike Williams might be in for a big year. I like that call.
Yep, I think he certainly is going to provide a huge season for them there in LA. All right, let's wrap this up here with some final thoughts on the AFC West this season. What's your final thought for this season?
I think this division is going to be very competitive, minus the Raiders. They just don't have enough there this year. Tons of talent, but I don't know if they can put it all together and get past all those off-field issues that they are starting to have already. I could actually see the Broncos contending with the Chiefs and the Chargers if everything falls into place. Flacco, new place, maybe fresh start. But I think it's going to come down to the Chargers and Chiefs to the very end.
Yeah, I feel like if Flacco comes out and has a good season, they have some really good talent there in offense. Emmanuel Sanders, Cortland Sutherland, so they have receivers for him. And if he can play like we've seen him play in Baltimore for his career, it could definitely turn this division into a 3-team race. But for me, my final thought is that I feel like the Chargers missed out this offseason from doing a little more to try to get them over the hump to win the division. So I feel like they're going to be feeling it here this season. I know they're looking to get over the hump. I just feel like they didn't take advantage of the situation they were in to bring in a few more pieces to help them get over the hump. So I feel like this is going to be the Chiefs division once again. But I do see the Chargers making the playoffs. They're a very talented team. Just I worry that their lack of off-season movement is going to hinder them from actually taking the next step and becoming a true Super Bowl contender. Well, that wraps up yet another episode of the podcast. Once again, you can listen to us on SoundCloud, YouTube, and Google Podcast.
As always, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
And check out our next episode as we wrap up this preview of the 2019 NFL season as we take a look at the NFC West.
Like surprises out there.
Definitely got a lot of young good talent out there. It'll be interesting to see what we have to say. Well, until next time.
Bye-bye for now.
See you soon.